Alliteration is the technique that poets and writers use in their craft for many different reasons, and alliteration can have many different effects depending on what sounds you choose and how you choose to use it. So what is alliteration? It's a series of repeated consonant sounds that are generally close together in a sentence or in a phrase or in a couple of sentences. So just a quick reminder, in the alphabet we have two types of letters. We have consonants and we have vowels. Vowels are A, E, I, O, and U, and consonants are all the other ones. So again, alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds. So let's have a look at a few examples. So here we've got 4 examples of alliteration. Writers weave their witty, wonderful words into webs to perfect the punch of their poetry and prose. Sparkling spiderwebs spun by specialized specimens to tempt, tease, and trap their intended targets. So you can see that I've highlighted all of the repeated consonants and repeated consonant sounds in color. So in the first sentence, all the W's are repeated, all the P's are repeated in the second, all the S's are repeated in the third, and all the T's are repeated in the fourth. Let's listen to it again. Writers weave their witty, wonderful words into webs to perfect the punch of their poetry and prose. Sparkling spiderwebs spun by specialized specimens to tempt, tease, and trap their intended targets. So it's the repetition of those sounds that we're really looking for. And you might be wondering to yourself, what is the point of alliteration? Well, if you read it to yourself a couple of times, you might be able to pick up exactly why people use alliteration. Personally, I think in this example, alliteration is used to make the phrases a bit more memorable. As we remember the sounds, as we listen to the sounds and as we remember them, it's easier to remember the imagery that's being created, and it's also easier to remember what is actually the content of these sentences. Let's have a look at some other examples. The rattling rifles' rapid rounds. The rattling rifles' rapid rounds. So the R sound there, rattling rifles' rapid rounds, is quite harsh and aggressive. So what's actually happening here is that the alliteration is forcing us to actually hear the rattling rifles' rapid rounds, or bullets being shot out, because of that harsh sound. Let's have a look at another one. The wild winds whisk westward. The wild winds whisk westward. So if we listen to this carefully, and if we pronounce it carefully, we can hear the actual wind, or the sound of the wind, that's being imitated when we repeat the W sound. The wild wind whisk westward. The wild winds whisk westward. So we can actually hear the sounds through alliteration. So another purpose of alliteration is not just to make things memorable, but it's also to help us to hear what a poet or a writer is actually wanting us to hear, the sound effects. Not the same thing as onomatopoeia, but similar in the sense that we are actually hearing the sounds as we say them, as we listen to them. So again, alliteration, what is it? A series of repeated consonant sounds that are close together. And the purpose of alliteration is that it draws our attention to a phrase and makes it memorable. So those first examples. It can help create a certain atmosphere. And the actual repeated sound can complement the action. Again, the rifles shooting off rounds and the winds whisking as well. We can actually hear those sounds as we read out those examples.